please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so as you can see, I've got the Tampa Bay Lightning's cap-friendly page pulled up here because I want to look at some of the decisions that the Lightning have to make this coming offseason, and they actually have quite a few very impactful restricted free agents that they're going to have to try to, fit under the salary cap, and it's going to be an interesting offseason, I think, for Julien Brisebois and the Tampa Bay Lightning's management staff because I'm not so sure they're going to be able to keep everybody. They've got a lot of some really good players who are on expiring contracts, and they are not going to be able to keep all of them, I don't think. So we're going to take a look at the cap situation here in Tampa Bay and see, who they might keep, who they might let go, and just where they're at salary cap-wise. Before we start, I just ask that you please hit that subscribe button if you're new and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, as those likes really help out a lot and are greatly appreciated. But let's get into it here. So as you can see, the Lightning right now, based on the current salary cap, and this is going to be interesting what happens next year with the salary cap, have about $1.2 million in cap space right now. So obviously not a lot, but they do have some cap space. They're over $1 million, which is good. Now, the interesting thing is, though, the cap was expected to go up next year by a pretty significant amount, by multiple millions of dollars for next season. That is not going to happen now. With the whole, obviously issue going on right now, and the league, missing out on the end of the season, whether or not we get playoffs in the offseason or not, or in the summer or not, is going to be still something that isn't fully decided yet. The cap is either going to, either stay or go down. And there's a good chance, I think, at this point that it may even go down. So, that's going to be a big problem for a lot of these teams. Now, the good thing is if the cap does go down, I believe that teams will be given a compliance buyout, meaning that they can just buy out a player with basically no penalty. To try and get under the cap, and obviously a lot of teams are going to need to use that and take advantage of that, to get under a lower salary cap from where we're at right now. But Tampa's got a lot of RFAs coming up, so let's start scrolling here. Obviously, they've got a lot of their players under contract for a pretty decent amount of time. Kucherov, Stamkos are both signed long-term. Yanni Gourde signed long-term. Tyler Johnson has 4 years left on his contract. Andre Palat and Braden Point both have a couple seasons left on theirs. So then that's not even touching on defensemen, where they have Hedman and McDonough both signed to very long-term deals. But the real interesting thing that comes into play here is when we get down here to the UFAs and RFAs for this summer. So again, Tampa doesn't have a whole lot of cap space to work with. Yet here we are with Patrick Maroon as a UFA, and I would probably venture to guess that he will not be back with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think he'll be going somewhere else. Yes, he's on a very cheap contract, but still, even just trying to save that $900,000, they're going to need every dollar that they can save this offseason because they need to re-sign guys like Anthony Cirelli is the big one up front, who is going to get a significant raise over the $728,000 that he was making last year. Cirelli has really turned himself into one of the better third-line centers in the league. He can add plenty of offense. He's a great two-way player. He's physical. He's not afraid to, get under the opponent's skin. Cirelli is going to be getting a significant pay raise, probably up into the $4.5–5 million per year type of range. We see Yanni Gourde at $5.1 million per year signed to a long-term deal. I think Cirelli is a better overall player than Yanni Gourde. He's also 22 years old as opposed to Gourde being 28. Now, he may take a shorter-term deal at slightly less money, but I think you're looking at least $4.5 million per season to sign Anthony Cirelli. So that's a good chunk of money right there. You also have Mitchell Stevens, who you're probably going to sign to a cheaper deal because he hasn't really had that full NHL experience yet. He hasn't been up in the NHL a whole lot, just kind of making his way. So he will get cheaper, and then Carter Verhaeghe will be cheaper as well because he's 24 and kind of still on that line between AHL and NHL. But Cirelli is the big one up front. But then you move on to the defense here, and things get even more interesting. So obviously you have Hedman and McDonough signed long-term to massive, well, not massive, but good-sized contracts. I mean, they're very good contracts for those players, but they're big money. Then you have Kevin Shattenkirk, who is on a one-year deal this year. I can guarantee you Kevin Shattenkirk is not going to be back with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He played on a very cheap $1.75 million deal this year, betting on himself after a couple of terrible, terrible seasons with the New York Rangers. It looked like Shattenkirk might even be done at the NHL level, but he bet on himself, signed a one-year deal, and had an extremely good bounce-back season this year with Tampa Bay. So he'll be a UFA, and I do not think Tampa is going to be able to sign him. They don't have the money. And actually, I'm going to do a video on this later in the week. I think Kevin Shattenkirk is one of the most interesting free agents that will be available in free agency this summer, just because of his career path and in the bounce back season that he's had this year. I think at 31 years old, I think there's going to be a team out there that gives him a 4-year deal at a pretty good price tag, and think that he can get back to being the St. Louis Blues level Kevin Shattenkirk. Braden Coburn, veteran depth guy, signed for another year. Zach Bogosian, he's done after this year. I don't expect him to be back either. Luke Shen, they might keep him around on a minimum contract like what he's on right now at $700,000, just as a depth guy. But the two big ones I want to talk about are right here. Mikhail Sergachev, restricted free agent, and Eric Chernak, restricted free agent. Both of these players are going to require a pretty serious pay raise from what they're getting right now. I mean, Mikhail Sergachev was not even making $900,000 per season. He's been really, really good the last couple of years. Sergachev's one of the better young defensemen in the game. Obviously has a ton of upside. He's only 21 years old. He's going to, if they sign him to a long-term contract, it's going to be big money. If they sign him to a bridge deal, it's going to be pretty big money still. And Sergachev, I think, is the one that they're going to want to keep the most because I think he has the highest upside. Chernak is more of that defensive defenseman, stay-at-home, tougher guy, more physical player. He's 22 years old. He was not even making $700,000 this past year on his ELC. He's going to get a serious upgrade in money and a serious, new contract. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be able to fit both Sergachev and Chernak under the salary cap, which means one of them is probably going to get traded. I would think that they're most likely to keep Sergachev, and that leaves Chernak kind of in that, do we trade him? Do we hope someone makes an offer? Do we try and fit both of them? With their current salary cap situation, with Vasilevsky's new contract at $9.5 million per year kicking in next season, do not underestimate that. That is $6 million in cap space difference from where he was this past year at $3.5 million to where he is next year at $9.5 million. There's $6 million in cap space gone just like that. I don't think they're going to be able to keep both Sergachev and Chernak. I think between Cirelli, Sergachev, and Chernak, who are the three big restricted free agents for Tampa Bay this summer, I don't know how they're going to be able to keep all three of them. I really think they're only going to be able to keep 2 out of the 3. Maybe they let Cirelli go, although with the way that Cirelli's played over the past year and a half, I really don't see that happening. I don't know why they would ever want to let Cirelli go with the way that he's been playing. To me, if I were the GM, I would be trying to trade one of these two guys, Sergachev or Chernak. I think they're more likely to keep Sergachev and let Chernak go, but it's really going to be interesting. Their cap situation with only 1.2 million in space right now. You've got 900,000 coming off the cap if Maroon leaves, which I think he will. You've got 1.75 opening up and 1.3 opening up if Shattenkirk and Bogosian leave, which I also think that they will. So between them, you're looking at what, about 4 million right? No, 3 million right there. And then, yeah, about 4 million opening up in cap space plus the 1.2 that you have now. You've got $6 million in cap space being taken away just by Andrei Vasilevsky coming back. I mean, I don't know, and a lot of these guys have no trade clauses. I mean, Palat's got a no trade clause. Johnson's got a no trade clause. Killorn's got a no trade clause. Gord's got a no... I mean, I don't know. I mean, Stamkos obviously isn't going anywhere. He's got a full no movement, and they wouldn't move Stamkos anyway. I don't know how this team is going to fit under the cap. I don't know how this team would fit it all under the cap in a normal year. Never mind now with the cap probably going down. This is going to be really, really interesting, guys, to see what Tampa Bay is able to do this offseason and who they're able to keep and ultimately who they need to let go, because they are not going to be able to keep everybody. There's just no mathematical way with what these players are worth versus how much cap space they have for them to be able to keep everybody. I just don't see it being possible. So, again, we'll see what happens, but Julien Brisebois absolutely has his work cut out for him this offseason. And they've got, 3 big-time RFAs in Anthony Cirelli, Mikhail Sergachev, and Eric Chernak that I feel like they're going to have to lose at least one of those guys. And that's obviously, those are not players that you want to lose. Those are very, very good players who have are in their early 20s and are really, really looking like they have bright futures ahead of them in the NHL. So maybe you can make a trade and get a good return for one of those guys. But Tampa has some very, very interesting decisions to make as far as the roster and the salary cap are concerned this offseason. So I just want to look at that a little bit. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.